Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today we are going to cover another week of Mikey's training. I've had a lot of people say, Jason, why don't you do this with more clients? Guys, there's no big secret. It's not me trying to keep anything from you or anything else. It's that not all of my clients send me a clip of every lift they do, and not all of them have given me permission to do this. Right? So essentially what I would need is for a lifter to consistently send me at least one video of every exercise they do every week, who is at least reasonably impressive lifts, who doesn't mind me doing this, right? And some of my strongest lifters, quite frankly, only send me about 3 videos a week. I can't do a vlog out of that. We just can't, right? And because I mostly monitor their stuff and just how they're feeling and look at a couple of their key lifts, and we keep them moving. And if I have something I really need to see, I have them send it to me. But guys like Mike like to send me a lot of stuff, and it makes it great for this. And people enjoy his training, because he's got bars, he's got bands, and it shows what you can do with a decently equipped home gym. Now today he did a max on the closed grip bench with 50 pounds of bands, and yes, he got a PR on that. And we count PRs on these lifts as a closed grip bench with 50 pounds of bands is a lift. If it's 30 pounds of band, that's a different lift. If it's a wider grip bench, it's a different lift, okay? And right now, a lot of his programming is real simple for bench accessory. Now, I'm going to change that up a little bit. Next week, assuming we get a vlog, you guys will see some changes. We're pushing him more towards deadlift specialization. So some people will notice his upper body stuff, particularly pressing, has, we're not pushing it as hard in terms of total volume. Exercise selection is again, not really that extreme given the equipment he has. Like right now, pause benching and incline benching, right, for sets of 10. And, we're not doing a lot of sets. We're only doing about 5 total sets of pressing for him after the max. That's it. Because we don't need a lot. He's a strong presser, right? His bench is his best lift. Mike's got a strong bench. Particularly for a drug-free lifter, his body weight, his bench is very, very good, to say the least. So we're focusing more on his deadlift. His deadlift is his weakest lift, and over the next few weeks, the next couple of blocks, I'm going to be shifting him into more deadlift specialization. That means more of his supplemental lifts are going to be taken away from worrying about his bench and even his squat to get his deadlift up, because he really needs to crack a 500 deadlift. It's way past due, and at his size and strength, most people would think he could pull 600 already, but it's not the case. It's certain parts of his back and stuff we need to continue to bring up, and we need to get him good at pulling. And he has shorter arms. One reason he's a great bencher, right? He's got big arms and they're short. So what we did is pretty simple right now. It's just pause benching, incline benching, reverse band J-jump presses. That's all of his bench supplemental work, and that's all we need. And really, we built his bench because, again, we put 45 pounds on his bench since he came on to Team Blaha. 45 pounds on his bench. We've done that with just basic movements and hypertrophying the right muscles. A lot of it was a lot of dips early on in floor pressing, and then we continue to do tricep work. So now he's doing chin-ups, and next week I'm going to take him to pull-ups. Now, we talked about it. Notice he's getting a little deeper. We talked about that we need to see a little better range of motion, right? We don't necessarily need to go into a dead hang, but we do need more range of motion than he's doing, so he's working on it now. And again, pretty much reaching failure there. And he does reach failure on quite a few of his sets. Like, he's trying to just cheat to get that last rep. That's failure, guys. If you're cheating to get another rep, you've reached muscle failure, right? So people ask, what does muscle failure look like? When you attempt a rep and it just doesn't go up, and you either have to cheat the weight or the weight just doesn't move, right? That's muscle failure. People say silly stuff like, oh, we're going to complete failure, try to do force. No, that's not complete failure. That's just working endurance fibers. You're not even gaining any muscle from doing that stuff. You've already fatigued the upper threshold fibers. That's it. You're done. You're not getting any more muscle growth out of that set. We could argue the debate is whether stopping a rep short of failure produces the same growth. And that's actually controversial as far as the literature goes, with a bias being towards a rep short can produce the same muscle growth. That's what the literature seems to suggest. So again, he did that. He did chin-ups, pen lay rows, snatch grip high pulls. And yes, he has gotten really strong at these snatch grip high pulls. And again, look at the size of his shoulders now. We brought his shoulders and upper back up a lot. And again, I want to point out to you guys, that is not normal for a drug-free lifter. When you see a guy with big shoulders, big delts and big traps, the odds that they are natural is pretty low unless they did a lot of specialized work to bring that up. And in his case, we've had to, right? We've had to hammer those areas hard to get him to where he is proportionate with a guy who's using stuff, because we need it for his strength, right? We need those traps and everything bigger. And he really needs more lower trap and mid trap and stuff at this point. It's another reason we're going to go to pull-ups. Another reason we're doing a lot of this safety squat bar stuff. Now, people say, didn't he max on that last week? Yes, he did. But his first time doing it was last week. He only recently got a safety bar. We haven't maxed on this for percentages yet. And I needed a good measurement. I wanted him to get a training max in, right? Get some practice under a heavy load on the lift, then get some supplemental work in on it, right? Do some rep work off of that percentage and then try again to see if we could get a new max, and he did. I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but that one there, that was a true max for him. He's now had practice to the lift. It's better. Now we have a better baseline by making him do it two in a row. And sometimes with a lift that's a little bit awkward and hard to do, sometimes you'll want to train it 2 weeks in a row for your max. Normally we rotate maxes every week on conjugate, right? We rotate them all the time. In that case, you might actually want to do that because you know you're going to progress guaranteed the second week. And if you can do that, you might as well do it. Again, particularly with a really novel lift. Now he's got a better baseline for training numbers, okay? And we need this lift. We need this lift for him right now. We've got to bring up his entire back to get his deadlift. Now, people will say, well, why back? Why not other things? He's got shorter legs and a longer torso. Kind of like me. Your back very quickly becomes a limiting factor. Lower traps, lats, all of that can become a limiting factor. Erectors, right? Longer leg lifters with shorter torsos have a shorter moment arm up top. They need more hamstrings usually. They tend to be very hamstring dominant pullers. So if you have a guy who's, 6'1", 6'2" with long legs, you would overdevelop their hamstrings for a conventional deadlift. You would overdevelop them. Now, right now, I've still got him doing these. We're doing these belt squats to keep his quads growing, just to make sure he gets good drive off the floor on the deadlift. And for his squatting, I'm probably going to take these away soon. I may replace them with some deficit deadlifts. Right? I might replace them with deficit deadlifts, which is not fun, by the way, doing rep work. I do that right now. And I run some of my lifters through phases like that. So a lot of people might think, oh, well, it's only because I'm doing it. No, plenty of my other lifters. Again, Big J, the guy who you guys saw do that Zercher squat, I run him through phases of deficit deadlifts because he has minimal equipment. We have to change things up a lot. We rotate between good mornings, deficit deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, everything, because he has one bar and he has no bit change or anything. Right, we don't have a lot of options. So I actually have him do rep work on deficit deadlifts, sumo deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, good mornings. We rotate a lot of that stuff around all the time. But we're at the point for Mikey where that might be coming up. But right now we're pushing for a few weeks. We're going to push these really hard, and he's getting stronger every week. Right, we're getting progression on it, and it's easy to recover from. Because I want to give him a phase to where his lower back gets a lot of recovery. Right, I want his lower back extremely recovered, because we ran into some lower back cramping and pain and stuff when we had to basically deload him for a week recently, right? And my deloads for my conjugate guys are not like you guys think of as a normal deload. We just cut most of the accessory work out, and we keep the maxes and speed work in, and we hit a conservative training max, right? So I want to keep building all that area, and I'm going to push his reverse hypers up. We're trying to get a little stronger at these every week, or every training block. So again, I need to get his low back. I need to get his lower back developed, and glutes and everything else. So I want to give him a little bit of recovery. So there's less axial loading right now, right? We're using the safety bar for the good mornings. It requires you to use less weight, right? Less axial loading. The belt squats, no axial loading. Reverse hyperpus traction on the lower back. I want to get him building all of these areas up while recovering. I need this area recovered extremely well so that I can put him into a phase of serious deadlifting for deadlift specialization. So I need him to be at his best there, because I don't want to go into there with a fatigued low back. We need to build muscle with minimal back fatigue, right? And that's what we're doing for him as we drift him more and more into specializing for it. Speed bench. Again, his speed bench is always really fast. For those curious, if you look at the sheet, we do 9 sets of 3. I have him 3 grips. I do wide, which is just pinkies on the rings. We do medium, and we do close for three sets each in that order. And this is against 30% band tension. So when I say the band tension, people will see that like, well, what do you mean? What's 30% bands? 30% of the bar weight? No, 30% of your max. If your max is 300 pounds, that's 90 pounds of band tension. Right? So we run 50% bar weight, so you would run 150 pounds on the bar with 90 pounds of bands if your bench max is 300. Now you'll notice he's a little slower with the close grip, which is funny because some people are faster. I'm faster with close grip. I have other lifters who are faster on the close grip on speed work. He's fastest with the widest grip. All right? Because again, his pecs and everything have gotten so much stronger. So if anything, I might push him into we're going to do maybe a little more close grip benching. I want to make sure that's not a weak link for him. So next block, which I've already written for him, I'm actually going to have him do close grip against bands as a second press. Because I'm not worried. His chest is growing just fine. Chest is big, shoulders are big, plenty of delt work. Right? We're going to keep pushing stuff that's going to make sure his close grip goes up. Because again, it's a little bit slow compared to the others. And we need everything balanced. We need everything balanced. We need our wider and our closer grips to be in proper ratios of each other, both in terms of strength and speed. We don't want to leave weak links out there. Right? We get weak links at mount up. This is how we get to where a guy like this struggles to get to a 500 deadlift. You know, a big, strong, thick guy. Because again, he has weak links. You don't want to let weak links develop. Not a good idea. So most of my lifters, I actually have them push sumo and conventional. And I look at that and I can tell what they need to work on based upon which is stronger and weaker. And some of my guys, it's a big disparity in both directions. I have people who pull 40 and 50 pounds more sumo than they do conventional, and the other way around. So I've had plenty of lifters in both categories. Again, he's taken those JM presses pretty much to failure there. Again, he's having to cheat the weight up on the last rep. That's failure. Okay? When you can no longer maintain correct form and you have to cheat or shift or do anything to lock the weight. Now, again, same rotation as before, except I think the videos got slightly mixed up when he sent them to me, so my download is mixed up. But it's chin-ups, rows, snatch grip, high pulls again. Next week we go to pull-ups. Again, I want his lower traps more developed. I care more about his low traps right now than I do his biceps. Right? Now his rows, again, we're getting pretty heavy. For those curious, he runs right now 65% of his bench max. So whatever 340 times 65% is, for sets of 10 on the rows. And then a lot of times we AMREP the last sets on these. Right? So that if we AMREP a lot of these movements, we know when it's time to go up. If we can start getting 12 or 13 reps on a third set at you know, whatever percentage we're doing, it might be time to increase the weight. Or if it's a lift we max on, it's time to test that again on a max. And I forget what he's using for snatch grip high pull. It's something like 265 at this point for sets of 10. So again, he's getting quite strong there. Getting quite strong there. And then we finish that off with chin-ups again, and we'll do that in just a second, and then I will assess and see what his range of motion looks like. Because again, if we can get the full range of motion on those for these higher reps, I can take him to heavy pull-ups next time, which is again my goal. So, but his range of motion has been generally increasing. You know, again, it's not quite the full bottom, but it's better than it was. And again, we're using a actual weight on this, and he's over 200 pounds at this point. So there's a certain point where we don't care that we're losing a couple inches at the bottom. Are we getting hypertrophy? Are we moving weight? Are we doing workload? Right? You know, when you start hanging a full plate, you're over 200 pounds, and you're able to hit 10 reps for more than one set, we can give up a few inches at the bottom. We might argue that in some cases we might want that bottom, but it's going to depend on the lifter. There you go, right there. Notice how much his chest has grown. He had a really weak chest when we started, and that's why his bench went up. We did tons and tons of chest work just to put 30 to 40 pounds on his bench originally. Then we branched into other stuff. But notice how much thicker this guy's chest is from the side. He actually has a big chest. He did not when he came to me. All right, 9 months ago, he did not have a thick chest. All right, speed squats. I'm making him stop at the bottom now because he has a habit of bouncing sometimes. We've talked about it. So there he's doing better on the speed squats of trying to stop on the box. But again, he gets excited because he gets psyched up. And a lot of guys say, well, why is it happening on speed work? It's not ultra heavy. Because I make my guys psych up on it. I want them to be aggressive. I want them to be listening to loud music, whatever. If they're going to use caffeine and stuff, that's the time to use it. That's the time to be aggressive, angry. I want people pissed off when they do speed work, because otherwise we don't get the aggression that we want. Speed work should be violent. And I got that term from my friend Christian Thibodeau, because he said that before in an article. Speed work should be violent. And no, I don't care if some of you guys don't like Christian. I don't agree with everything he says, but I like him as a person and we get along. Had some good chats with him. But I've coined that term from him, that speed work should be violent. It should be aggressive. You should be angry when you do it. The one thing I really want a lifter hyped up on, I don't necessarily want it when they're maxing. I want a lot of my guys to calm down and be in the right head space and be focused when they max. But speed work, we just want explosive power, and that requires you to be angry. And then after, since the speed work is a lot of volume, usually all he does is, again, good mornings and reverse hypers afterwards. We don't do other stuff on speed days. It's not necessary. Because again, it's 12 doubles against heavy bands for the speed boxes, and then we do, as many as 10 singles against bands. I might have him at 6. I would need to double check. Because some of my guys who are getting a little stronger, you start getting real strong on deadlifts, and you're using bands, we have to take you down to as few as 6, just to avoid some overuse issues due to the really heavy weights that end up being used at the lockout. And again, it's a common thing they do at Westside, is to run those lower. But sometimes they run them higher, depends on the lifter. And I've kind of experimented with both, and I tend to push my guys towards the lower, but I might mess with, for some of my guys who need more deadlift specialization, it might be warranted to go way higher, on speed pulls. And then he finished off with his normal reverse hypers. So this has been a fairly long video, but this is, at least one set of every exercise that he did for a full week of training. And of course, on his off days, he rides his bike and stuff and gets some list cardio in. Again, just for overall health, nutrient partitioning, things like that. It's a good idea to do cardio. Something I stress to a lot of my lifters, doing some list cardio even when you're bulking is actually a very, very good idea, just for your overall health, for overall nutrient partitioning, better anabolic response from your food. Because if you can eat more carbs, you get more insulin response. Because if your maintenance calories go up because you're doing list cardio, which helps with recovery, you get a stronger anabolic signaling overall from your food. It's actually a potentially good thing to have a higher energy turnover when you want to bulk, if you can eat the food. If food is not a problem for you. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.